All right, brilliant. It's Carl here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, and it's my pleasure to be speaking with Alan, vocalist of slamming deathcore band Distant. Alan, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. How's your day been today?
It's been great so far. Been working on some new stuff and cooking, always cooking with Distant.
Yeah, I was going to say, working on new stuff already. Amazing. Is that part and parcel of being stuck at home more?
I would say it's more of like a motivation this next release is giving us. So we're on the roll now.
Yeah, okay. You're just all keyed in correctly, yeah?
Yeah.
So how about 2020 in general then? How have you been coping with the new world we live in?
Well, it's kind of hard because I'm used to being out all the time,
Yeah.
and especially after how we kicked off last year with touring.
Yeah.
We were looking forward for this year for what it was supposed to bring, all the touring possibilities, festivals and whatnot. But in my opinion, it gave us more time to focus on us and development of the band. So everything bad is good for something, I guess.
Okay.
So we've been trying to get the best of 2020, and like, okay, let's not cry about how all the tours are cancelled. Let's make the time worth and take the best of it, so we wouldn't be in a slumber just because we can't play shows.
Well, absolutely. It's no easy task for anyone, really, but
Yeah,
particularly when all your plans are cancelled, to stay positive.
yeah.
Do you think you've managed to then?
I think we managed it perfectly. Like, not to be cocky, but I think we handle it more than well. Used the time really good, and we had more time to plan things out properly. And I'm really keen on what the future will bring, and to release all the stuff we have in works. So.
Okay. Well, what advice then would you give to those people who, I guess, are struggling to stay positive, particularly when we've got a tough winter ahead of us?
Yeah, I would just say try to find something to shorten the time and just stay creative. Like, if it's like even people in general, not just the bands, but just do yourself and don't focus on the bad things.
Absolutely. So, as of time of recording, well, 1 week away from the release of your brand new EP, Dawn of Corruption. How are you feeling about it now? You just desperate to get it out?
Yeah, I'm really on needles now. That I really want to hit the world, and really curious on how people will receive the release itself, and if they gonna get the most of it as it's intended, because it's a conceptual thing right now.
Yeah.
We did our own lore, like, with the time we've been given. I started writing a book about this lore as well.
Oh, really?
So it's really tied in together, and we're gonna be like doing more in-depth content for it, and even like the book release itself, so people could understand Distant much more, since the whole concept is big. It's our own world,
Yeah,
our own
it's
Distant universe.
absolutely. It's one of the more fascinating sort of things you can find out about Distant once you start down that path. So, and it's interesting because when people think of, let's say, death metal, deathcore, that style and the like, they tend to think of bands setting the world to rights, whether it be musically and vocally. Obviously, that's not the case with you guys. Do you feel like that helps you stand out from the pack? Because let's be honest, it's not the concept you have is the sort of thing you might expect from, say, like a power metal band or something like that.
Yeah. It's definitely not something that is common among the scene. but since we are all like into fantasy, anime, video games, and all that stuff, that we basically live with it, then we decided to yeah, let's do our own thing. Like it's cool. I mean, okay, we're big man childs now that that we're doing these fantasy fictions about it, but I think it's really great because I don't know, it gets more interaction with the band and with the story itself, and you could do so much more when you have more like a bigger story to tell with the music, that people can actually feel the way the music should be listened to. And with even the show we have planned for this, which we don't know when it will come for it to showcase, but basically we're trying to stand out within the bands, to not be just the band that plays heavy music, but that we really have a story to tell, and to show people that it's fun.
Well, you know the score. It's not so easy these days to just release a great album or EP and then take off or be noticed. You have to do that little bit more to stand out.
Exactly. Especially nowadays, since you have nearly every other day you have a new band popping out. You have so many releases, and the attention span of the listeners are getting tighter. So you need to be interesting for the listeners to keep listening to you and to interact with you. And I love when I see, even if it's like from the games or some series or something, when people make theories about the story and stuff like that. And that's, for example, what I like to see with bands as well, that somebody makes a theory based on our story or something like that.
Okay, so you're happy for the music to be open to interpretation?
Yeah.
Okay, because of course,
not really like interpretation, but basically the story itself, like it's certain, like it's really certain, but it's a whole another world. Like it's not happening on Earth. It's not earthly, but it takes these little things from world as is, and there's a little bit more like a second meaning to the world thing as well.
Yeah.
So people might find themselves within it, because it's not just like a story about some king and how he desperately seeks power. Like it's more into that. Like it's more personal. It's to affect everybody who reads it and finds himself within the story.
Ultimately, I understand what you mean. You have that underlying concept and the story you wrote, but you kind of want fans and listeners to take what they can get out of it, whatever they're feeling.
Exactly.
So it's a quick follow-up to the full length, 2019 full length, to Anatopia. Were these tracks for this EP tracks that were from the cutting room floor, so to speak, or did you just feel like you wanted to continue what you did with that album?
Well, the album kind of sketched up the concept, because the whole story happens in the land of Tyrannotopia, and basically the whole album was a sketch of few point of views. Like it wasn't following like a direct line.
Yep.
But now with Dawn of Corruption, we wrote completely new stuff, and it follows the Dawn of Corruption era of Tyrannotopia. So it's like a certain time frame within the story, this EP.
Okay, that makes sense. And this isn't you drawing a line under this world you've crafted. This is just a continuation, right?
Yes, it's more like story put together rather than scrambled ideas around. Because Tyrannotopia is really shattered. Basically, the whole concept of that album itself is shattered mind, shattered land. So it's pieces which fill into for example, some of these could fall into Tyrannotopia, or a prequel or a sequel. So Tyrannotopia, the full end itself, is a shattered piece of the whole thing.
Fascinating. And you mentioned this book earlier on. Can you go in a little more detail about that? How far along are you with that?
Well, as of now, just covered the first chapter and the foundation of Tyrannotopia. Right now, we're working on the Dawn of Corruption Act.
Yeah.
Which will be probably, I don't want to jump ahead of conclusions, but I would like to release that one as a standalone for people to see and look into the story more in depth, along with the Dawn of Corruption release.
Oh, brilliant.
And then that would be the part of the wall book. So let's say we are like 60 pages deep right now.
Okay. I mean, that's brilliant. I love this idea of you release a record, an EP, and then you have this companion piece that goes into much more detail. That's not something I can really think has been done in metal before.
Yeah, I don't think either. I mean, we are thinking the way that what will we want, or what would be cool if a band would do, and what would we get? I mean, if a band does a book and has a cool concept, I'm getting that. If they do a video game, I'm getting that.
We also have a couple of guests on the EP, similar to the album. We had guests there. You've got obviously Jason Evans on the Jested and Mendel Bijdi Lee, who was in Aborted. Those are bloody brilliant partnerships. How did those come about?
With Jason, we basically clicked a lot on the tour we had together last year. It was 10 years of human suffering, Ingested headline last November. And they had us for the whole run and trusted us to bring the heavies, and it felt great. It was awesome tour, and I know that Jason is a great storyteller. So I was looking to get somebody on the record as a guest, not just to hype the release or get somebody to showcase their vocal range, but to actually tell our story from his point of view. So it's not like I wrote his lyrics. I just tell them like, okay, this is the lore. This is what it's about. I want your perception of this character, and you do you. I wanted a piece of him in that. So that's why I chose Jason, because I know he's master of his craft, and he delivered, and I was really glad that we went with Jason. So I'm looking into more of these factors than just having like, yeah, this guy is hyped right now, let's get him.
That's amazing.
And with Mendel, the rest of the band, as me and the drummers are from Slovakia, and the rest of the band is from the Netherlands. They're friends with Mendel, and I've been thinking of like, yeah, you don't hear much solos in deathcore
True.
at all, and came to the idea of getting Mendel, and I was really, really curious like how it will sound. And what he delivered was perfectly within the concept itself. Like, it fits so well, and I can't wait to release it, because my mind was blown when we heard the solo the first time. I was literally laughing on how good it was. Like, I stood still and just laughed as it was like, wow, just speechless.
That's awesome. I love the idea that you're as excited and impressed by your guest on your EP as a fan would be.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you find yourself getting quite obsessive or going down rabbit holes when it comes to feedback, whether it be single releases, YouTube comments, Facebook and stuff like that?
Well, since me and Elmer our bassist, are managing the band, and I'm more on like the social media guy, and doing the research and thinking of new possibilities to get out there and to do the content, to keep relevant. I'm 24/7 on my phone, checking every comment,
Really?
every share, everything. I'm getting a bit obsessive, but yeah, if you're listening to this interview, I'm watching you. Like
Oh goodness.
my eyes are everywhere, but yes. It might be a bit obsessive, but thanks to that, even like the bad things people say about it, I don't get mad about it or cry that goo goo gaga, that guy didn't like that we play really slow breakdowns. I mean, okay, that's one guy of 100, and we're just gonna make something else, or basically to try to feed everybody with what they like, and still keeping it distant. And that's the EP that's this EP as well. You have Hellmouth, which is pretty slow song. You have Odepism, which is kind of aggressive song of the EP. Then you have Dawn of Corruption, the title track, which is a groovy song.
Yeah.
Then you have The Void, which is more of a down-tempo-ish song, like really taking it slow. But more not in like in a way like Hellmouth, that it's not as hard-hitting, but more of atmospheric. Then the Hall of Cross, that's basically a scary song.
It's really...
And the song with Mendel on the Temple of Taglaroth, that is basically a technical song that's basically death metal. And that's so we could please everybody but still keep it distant, and I'm really curious on the feedback on the whole thing.
What's quite fascinating is how you have got this balance of variation in quite a restrictive sound. I mean, when you talk like about the experience of listening to it, going from myself, when I first listened to it a few weeks back, I had very little clue about the concept. I knew there was a concept, but I didn't know what the detail was. So initial first listen was, okay, cool, great. This is deathcore, and this is this, and this, and so on. And then afterwards, reading about the concept and understanding it, and then going back and listening to it again several more times, it's like listening to it with fresh ears. Is that sort of how you'd like people to hear it?
Yes, exactly. That's all about it. Like the first, I would say the first layer of the listener is to receive the high quality music, and then when people listen to it more, they can hear the orchestras in the background, the spoken words, and everything going on in there. And once they read the lyrics and read about the story itself, you get this like how you say it, like a redemption sort of moment, that like, aha,
yeah.
That's basically what we aim for with.
I think you've nailed it. Alan, last question then. So you talked about feeling positive about the future at the very start. Have all your plans as of right now been put on hold because of the world situation? And behind the scenes, what's kind of going on that you can talk about?
Well, only thing I can say, that Dawn of Corruption is just a chapter.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I could say, and the rest will be revealed after the release. So keep your eyes peeled, because I love to keep hidden messages.
If that doesn't leave everyone listening with a sense of super excitement, I don't know what will. That is fantastic. As you said, Dawn of Corruption, 23rd of October. Alan, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Carl. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/GBHBL, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?